Hello, good morning everybody. My name is Wendol Philord. Today I will be teaching you guys about my presentation I've been writing for the past 4 weeks about fixing police strategies. Today with me, I have my teammate, Kinsley Johnson, my other teammate, Jalen Willis, my other teammate, Trey Lubin, my other teammate holding the phone, Justin Carcel. So today we're going to talk about a serious discussion on topic with police. So in an era marked by increasing calls for reform within law enforcement, the critical importance of comprehensive training programs cannot be overstated. Addressing the complexities of police in modern city demands a multifaceted approach, one that prioritizes de-escalation tactics, community engagement, and cultural sensitivity. These programs serve as a cornerstone for empowering law enforcement personnel to navigate intricate scenarios with empathy and discretion. Fostering a more equitable and harmonious relationship between agencies and the communities they serve. The emphasis on accountability, regulation, and oversight regarding the use of force is pivotal in assuring its justice and restraint application. By championing these measures, a transformative ripple effect emerges, contributing not only to safer communities, but also to the preservation of civil liberties and the restoration of police trust in the institution of policing. This comprehensive approach serves as a linchpin in fortifying collective confidence and security within society, underpinning the ongoing journey toward a more just and resilient community. Enhancing the accountability, regulation, and oversight of forceful policing strategies is imperative to ensure the responsibility and restraint application of force within law enforcement, fostering safer communities, preserving civil liberties, and restoring public trust in policing. Forceful policing strategies typically refer to the method of tactics employed by law enforcement when faced with situations that may require physical intervention or the use of force to maintain order, ensure compliance with the law, or protect individuals from harm. These strategies encompass a spectrum of action that range from verbal commands and physical restraint to the use of less lethal or lethal force in extreme circumstances. Meaning that if a police officer is talking to somebody about, something simple about like trespassing, he can't just arrest them or shoot them for trespassing. He has to give them a list of commands. He can't just go from 0 to 100 quickly. He has to be able to establish a reason for using the force that he used. So he can't just have, how can I put this? He can't just have too much power upon himself. He can't just go around shooting everybody for little things. Sometimes, goes that you have to use force, but sometimes you have to use the right force, like tasing, pepper spray. You can't just go straight to shooting anybody or punching or fighting them. So, forceful policing strategies might include verbal commands and presence. Law enforcement officers often start by using verbal commands and their authority presence to de-escalate a situation without physical force, like I was saying. Physical restraint. This involves physically moving, controlling an individual without causing injury, often through techniques like handcuffing or other forms of restraint. Less lethal force. Law enforcement may use less lethal weapons such as tasers, pepper spray, beanbag rounds, or rubber bullets to subdue individuals without causing fatal injuries. Lethal force. In situations where there is an immediate threat to life, either the officer or other law enforcement may resort to firearms, or other law enforcement may resort to lethal means as a last resort. The definition and implication of forceful police strategies vary based on departments, policing, training, legal frameworks. It's crucial for law enforcement agencies to have clear guidelines and training in place to ensure that the use of force aligns with legal standards, respect human rights, and prioritize de-escalation and minimum harm. Meaning, so every place has its own laws and regulations. So one state might say you could do this if this happens, or another state might say you can't do this if that happens. So you have to make sure you're in the legal frameworks of your state, and also each police station may have its own legalities from to what works. So therefore, you will have to understand what your police department says. Not everybody's the same. Everybody has their own rules. The historical origins and evolution of forceful policing tactics weaves a complex narrative shaped by social, cultural, and institutional developments across centuries and continents. Policing in some form has existed since ancient civilizations, initially relying on local authorities or watchmen to maintain order through physical intervention and punishment. The Industrial Revolution marked a pivotal point, catalyzing urbanization and social change. This necessitated the emergence of more organized law enforcement. In the 19th century, former police forces surfaced in various Western societies, often structured in a military fashion, and employing forceful tactics to exert control and quell dissent. Throughout history, forceful policing has been entwined with power dynamics and social norms. Its evolution intertwines with moments of unrest and social upheaval. Civil rights movement in the 20th century, notably the United States, brought to light the stark realities of police brutality against marginalized communities. These movements act as catalysts for reforms, highlighting the disproportionate use of force by law enforcement and advocating for changes in policing tactics. Technology advancements further shape forceful policing. The introduction of non-lethal weapons such as tasers, pepper spray, aim to provide alternative to lethal force, albeit with their own ethical considerations. Meaning back then, police officers just had guns. Nobody really had, other things, so they only had one thing to use to stop somebody. And then I guess further on down the line and through history, they realized, okay, this is wrong. We can't just only use guns. We have to use something else. So they made beanbag rounds to not kill you or just to cause harm and to slow you down. Tasers, stuff like that, pepper spray, to help, just give you a temporary pain and not to, furtherly scar you for life, if that makes any sense. So despite these shifts, the challenges persist in striking a balance between ensuring public safety and employing responsible and ethical use of force. The ongoing dialogue surrounding police tactics remain a dynamic force shaping police and practices worldwide. It's a journey toward fighting approaches that align with social expectations, human rights, and the evolving needs of communities while mitigating the historical legacy of forceful policing. So the use of force in policing is governed by legal and ethical frameworks that vary across jurisdictions. These frameworks typically outline guidelines for the use of force, emphasizing principles of necessity, proportionality, and responsibleness. For instance, the U.S. employs a continuum of force, allowing police officers to respond with an appropriate level of force based on the situation. However, interpretations and implementations of the frameworks can differ. Some jurisdictions may have clear policies, while others might lack specificity, leading to ambiguity in practice. Ethical considerations, including respect for human rights and the principle of minimizing harm, are crucial but might be challenging to consistently uphold in high-stress situations. Implementing these frameworks require rigorous training, oversight, and accountability. Mechanisms within law enforcement agencies, however, shortcomings in training, bias, inadequate oversight, or lack of consequences for misconduct can hinder the effective implementation of these legal and ethical standards, leading to misuse or overuse of force in some instances. Forceful police methods can significantly erode community trust and strain police-community relationships in the long term. Instances of excessive force or misconduct by law enforcement can create a deep sense of mistrust, fear, and resentment within communities. Meaning, I'm gonna use like a poor neighborhood for instance. Everybody knows crime used to tend to be more inside poor neighborhoods, like drug abuse, gang violence, stuff like that. And then once a community feel distrust with police officers, so how often police officers go over to that neighborhood, it's more likely for a police officer who not had a lot of training to use excessive force, and then so that makes nobody if our neighborhood wants to call them, because okay, if I call for help and they're actually hurting us, then I might as well not just call them because I can't trust them. So therefore, it's just gonna cause a big uproar. So after it happened one time, nobody's gonna be like, okay, you know what? We're gonna have to find another way. So they're gonna have to tend to find solutions within themselves because nobody's gonna trust the police, and therefore that also hurts police because if you if I'm supposed to trust you and I can't trust you to do your job correctly, then I'm not gonna wanna help you. So therefore, it's just like a 50-50 situation that everybody has to come in the middle and meet. But if one side feel distrust and dishonesty from the other side, then the other side is not gonna wanna believe in that side. So then everything's just gonna be all messed up. So law enforcement officers undergo various training protocols regarding the use of forceful tactics, aiming to equip them with the necessary skills to handle high-stress situations judiciously. Training often includes modules on de-escalating techniques, crisis intervention, cultural sensitivity, and implicate bias recognition. However, the effectiveness of these protocols could vary widely. While some programs are comprehensive and emphasize critical thinking and scenario-based training, others may be insignificant or lack regular updates to incorporate evolving best practices. Moreover, the translation of training into practice can be challenging, particularly in high-pressing and rapidly evolving situations. Media coverage and public discourse play a pivotal role in shaping perceptions of forceful police strategy. High-profile incidents of forceful tactics, especially when captured on video and disseminated widely, can have profound impact on public perception. Media coverage often frames narratives around these incidents, influencing public opinion and trust in law enforcement. I would say, for example, that means like the George Floyd situation when I forgot the guy's name. He's in jail now, but the police officer he already had him handcuffed, and then the police officer's kneeing on his neck. So I would say for that's like, and then everybody was, causing uproar. Everybody was protesting, saying Black Lives Matter, and a whole bunch of stuff. And all that happened because he kneed on his neck and ended up, killing the guy. So therefore, I would say that's one of the big situations that caused an uproar because people videotaped it. It was on body cameras like a big thing. He got fired. The other officers facing trial, they even got sentenced to, a prison sentence. So, stuff like that affects it. And, it was a big thing. We can't trust police officers. They were saying defund the police, all type of stuff. Even if it wasn't their police system or even it was their state, everybody was still saying the same thing because, that's a big thing. And everybody felt like if that one bad apple, it ruins the whole bunch. So for that instance, that's something you could relate to on that standpoint. And then, while these communities and regions that have implemented stricter regulations on forceful policing often exhibit contrasting outcomes compared to those with lax oversight in areas with stringent regulations and robust oversight mechanisms. There's typically a greater emphasis on accountability, transparency, and adherence to established protocols governing the use of force. As a result, instances of excessive force and police misconduct tend to decrease. These communities often experience improved relations between law enforcement and residents, fostering trust, cooperation, and a sense of security among the populace. Certainly, take for instance a community that implements a community policing program, focuses on bitter issues between law enforcement and residents in high-crime neighborhood. Through regular neighborhood meetings, joint problem-solving initiatives, and collaborative efforts to address local concerns and residents to perceive law enforcement and officers not just as authority figures but allies in the neighborhood. So you could take, for instance, how can I put it? You could take, for instance, how like policing, like a neighborhood event police have. You ever heard DARE? That's like a drug thing. For instance, you use police as a reference for that. Like they're coming to neighborhoods to show good faith that you can believe in us, that we're not just bad. They come play with the kids. They go to town meetings, talk about the crime that's going on, talk about, serious worries in the neighborhood and see how they can all come together and fix it. So they just come in through the neighborhood, playing with the kids, talking to parents, showing y'all that, we are good people. Not all of us is bad. Y'all can trust us. If you trust us to do our job, we'll make sure that y'all are safe. So I guess that's like an answer you could also relate to in that aspect of the police going through and, making sure everybody knows their name and stuff like that in the neighborhood. Now, we're getting down to the end of my presentation, so I would like to leave y'all with this. So, ultimately, community input serves as a catalyst for driving systematic changes in police, ensuring that police's decisions reflect to the aspirations and needs of the diverse population they serve, empowering communities to actively participate in shaping the trajectory of forceful policing. practices essential for fostering resilient, inclusive, and responsive law enforcement system. Here are some examples: community oversight boards and review panels, community policing councils, training and education programs, youth engagement initiatives, restorative justice program, stuff like that. Now, the analysis of current oversight structures reveals varying degrees of effectiveness in monitoring and regulating enforcement policing strategy. Proposals for enhancement often emphasize the need for independent review boards equipped with sufficient authority, resources, and community respirations. In conclusion, the landscape of policing strategy is undergoing critical reevaluation to balance the imperative of public safety with the protection of civil liberties and community trust. Forceful police tactics, while at the necessary, demands meticulous oversight, ethical scrutiny, and continuous evolution. Understanding the nuances of forceful tactics, their historical context, and their impact of individuals and communities is pivotal. Ultimately, a hostess approach that values human dignity, respect individual rights, and nurtures collaborative relationships between law enforcement communities is indispensable. By embracing innovative strategies that prioritize respect, understanding, and safety, we can pave the way for policing that not only ensures public security, but also upholds the fundamental principles of justice and equity. Thank you. Anybody have any questions? All right. Thank y'all.